time to hang out. So I got my shirt on for all of you that get wigged out that old Pop Pop is going on the internet indecent. For Helen Smith and all of the others. So, let me see what we can see. The phone is talking about Father's Day. My father passed away so long ago, and my mother passed away when I was a young man. My mother passed away a real long time ago. I don't even think that. Phooey. I don't think I would even recognize her if I bumped into her on the street. So, my father, I have a little bit of recollection about. My mother, pretty much none at all. So, when my mother was passing, my one sister didn't let me come and see her because she said that would upset her. So I went and I bought the most expensive portable color TV you could get at the time. It was a Zenith portable with a cart and a remote. It was very unusual at the time for TVs to have a remote control. So, in any case, this TV was $468. So, I'm not doing too well with my phones. I got the wrong phone on the wrong channel. So, I might have to go back to that one. I'm trying to see what all the news is. Oh, God. Roller coaster rider stuck upside down after power outage. That's why I wouldn't get on one of those. I wouldn't get on one of those roller coasters that goes upside down. Hey, Hungry, what's up with you? Tonight is just hanging out. That's all we're doing. Is just hanging out. I'm not going to get wigged out over anything. I'm not going to get involved in anything that's too over the top, you know. I'm cooking some codfish in the crock pot that you all sent me. So, yeah, it's a quiet It's a quiet evening, the calm before the storm. So I'm using the crock pot that Terry sent me with a couple pieces of healthy codfish, and I forgot the greens. I should have clipped some onion greens into it, and some pepper and some butter. And I didn't have any white wine because I'm really not a drinker. So it stands to be a very boring dinner. So I'm appreciative to all of you who hop onto my Amazon page and help me out with diapers and old man piddle pads and all that other stuff. So I gotta clean this phone because it's got too many messages, and your emails can really slow your phone down. I hate going through the emails to clean them out, but it's got to be done. So what do you all think about that video where the cop saw a meteorite or something? He caught it on his police camera, and then a few minutes later they got a message about two aliens in this guy's backyard that were like 10 feet tall and had Betty Davis eyes, and the people were all freaked out, and they took the report seriously, and they sent the cops over there. So I'm checking out Canadian Prepper to see what's going on with regard to the thing in Ukraine. I always check out Canadian Prepper or the real Grand Supreme News Channel. So Luis Santiago. Well, 45's always going to have problems. And he made most of the problems himself, because I tried to help him out when he was in office and smooth him out like Obama, if he disagreed with somebody, he would just take his finger and he would scratch his head with his middle finger, or he would say stuff like he had to have a red wedding for the Republicans. And see, none of them got it. They all sat in the audience and they laughed like a bunch of fools at what Obama was saying when Obama said that you could be walking along and a drone would take you out. He wasn't kidding about that. And when he said that they had voted a pot-smoking socialist into the White House, he wasn't kidding. He was telling the people, you got what you voted for. And so he made this comment about a red wedding for the Republicans. A red wedding, if you know history, is where you invite your enemies to a wedding and everyone's feasting and drinking and getting drunk and all. And just when you get your enemy drunk, you shut all the doors and then you slaughter them like cattle. That's a reference he was making about the red wedding. And there were some things that happened to the Republicans, like they got SHOT at a baseball game, and then a bunch of Republicans were on a train, and a garbage truck just got pushed in front of the train out of nowhere, and almost slaughtered all of them. So it's like the people who disagree with Hillary that, committed SUICIDE, and they all just happen to use the same caliber, GUN. And one guy even managed to cap himself in the back of the head, and it was declared, that he had capped himself. Imagine that. And they've had a second guy who wound up DEAD in a prison cell. And the cameras didn't work and all of that. So, we're in a banana republic, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. And they're pushing somebody like Milquetoast Mike for the Republican side. And I have a feeling that he will win. He can win because he's a rhino. He's a John McCain. He's a rhino. He's not a Republican. And he's sticking the knife in 45's back. Yeah, the second coming and all of that other stuff. We're not supposed to sit back. We're supposed to occupy. And we're supposed to pray for the lost and pray for our enemies. I had prayer like 3 or 4 times today, because with me, when things get really bad physically, I just shut everything off and I go from bed to wheelchair to prayer, to bed to wheelchair to prayer. For some reason, I feel the Holy Spirit stronger when I'm sitting up in the wheelchair than I do in bed. I know that, for example, the Muslims consider praying in bed to be okay. You start talking about God, you start talking about Jesus and God, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, you'll have technical issues. Like when you start to talk about Jesus and God on the internet, and all of a sudden you'll have technical issues. And see, this is what I was talking about, having your phone gated. If you talk about the wrong stuff now, and they sniff your phone and it has the wrong word, then you get higher scrutiny than the average person who's talking about video games and thises and that's. But in any case, we're in a single party banana republic. It's not going to change. I'm not even going to vote this election, and it'll be the first year going all the way back to 1973 where I'm not going to vote, because it's not going to make any difference. And if you vote for the wrong person this time around, all it's going to do is get my name put on somebody's list and then, get me harassed or something. It's not going to make any difference, because it's very obvious that Milquetoast Mike is in the enemy camp, even though he wrote his book about God this and God that. A politician like that shouldn't even evoke the name of God. They shouldn't drag God into their mess, because now that he's backstabbing 45, it makes him look like a hypocrite. It makes believers look bad. And a lot of these people are self-deluded anyway. When Nancy would get up there and tell everybody about what a great Catholic she was, and yet she signed that abortion bill that allows for abortion up to the point where a baby is born. Can you imagine that a baby is born healthy and it's sitting there reaching out to its parents, and the parents tell the doctor they don't want the baby? So the doctor takes a pair of scissors and sticks it in the back of the baby's head and scrambles its brain around and then sells the parts off to a laboratory or some other place, to make some money off of it. That's not even human, fam. And yet people are, I mean, we've hit the bottom of the barrel. They even have bestiality legal in Canada now, where you can literally get with a dog and do the down low or do the dirty with the dog. I had a neighbor when I lived in Mount Airy, and we were at a party one night, and she had this Great Dane, and it was 10 o'clock at night, right on the nose, and the Great Dane came into the party with a pillow and started bumping everybody towards the door with the pillow. And I asked the lady, I said, "What's up with the dog?" And she said, "Well, he's the man of the house. The dog is the man of the house, and he's telling everybody to get out because he wants to go to bed, and he wants her to come to bed, the lady who owned the house." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" She's like, "Yeah, it's, everybody got to go home." I never went back to her house after that. Never. Because she was a kook. And the thing was she had herpes, and the dog had herpes, where she kissed on the face of the dog, and the dog got all of these little bloody pimples all over its muzzle, and her horse had herpes. And the bad thing was, when she took her horse to this other place, and you know how horses rub each other's, yeah, you know how horses are very passionate and they rub each other's face against each other. Her horse gave all of these other horses an outbreak of herpes in Mount Airy. You can look it up yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. But she lived in a log cabin, worked for the government, just as nutty as a fruitcake. And the mice were eating her out of house and home. Literally, she had holes in the walls where the mice were eating through, and she wouldn't let anything happen to the mice. I said, "Well, the mice are going to destroy your electrical wiring and all this." She had leaky plumbing in an almost brand new house. I went over to do some painting to freshen the house up and take the dog stench away a little bit. And so as I was painting, she let the dogs into the room, and the dogs walked through the paint roller and everything. And I was smart. I had plastic over the carpet. I could see that train coming, and I knew the lady was a nutcase. So I had every inch of carpet covered with plastic because you didn't dare yell at her dog. And so I was taking my break, and the dog started to force itself on me. And I was like, "Man, I'm not your girlfriend. Get off, dog." And the thing got right up in my face, like that. And I was like, "I'm not your girlfriend. Get away from me, dog." And the thing was very aggressive. And in its mind, because it hadn't been disciplined, it was the head of the household, believe me. And she would go to feed it, and the thing would look at her like, "No, this isn't what I wanted." and she would make it something else to eat. the funny thing, the funny thing was that she had a fence that broke, and she asked me to fix the fence, and I took my buddy Robert with me. I took my buddy Robert with me, and we put in a new fence pole to set the fence. And I used Quickcrete, where you dig the hole, you put the pole in, you center it, and you pour water around the concrete. A few minutes later, you're done. So horses get attracted to the color orange. And when you're using a saw, one of those Black & Decker saws, and it's orange and black, and the electric cord is orange, the horse wants to check it out because of movement and the color and everything. So the horse comes over, and we're busy. I didn't look over my shoulder. I didn't realize there was a horse right behind us. And the horse took to Robert, and it rubs its face against Robert's face, and it goes, you know how horses do that with their lips, right in Robert's ear. Robert got up, and he freaked out, and he was running, looking behind him, running. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And the horse was right behind him. Clop, 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 clop. And I was like, Robert, stop running and the horse will stop chasing you. And he was like, I can't. So he ran over to the barn, and man, he was really slick about being able to climb a fence and hop over a fence. I couldn't do that in 1,000 years. But he hopped the fence and got on the other side of his amorous horse. And the lady came out, and she smacked the horse on the face and told it to leave us alone. But she was very bossy. I was cutting the grass. Everything about the house, this brand new house, was out of control. The grass, the paint, the rodent problem, the animal problems. She shouldn't have had horses. She worked for the government. She was away most of the day. She came home at night and fed the horses and rode them and stuff, but it wasn't really a good situation for the animals. And I've found out a lot of people that are animal owners are like that. It's not about the animals at all. It's about the person. And they have animals because it gives them a sense of what a great person they are and all this other crap. But in any case, I'm cutting the grass, and she comes up on the horse and she goes, stop, 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 stop. She had a very low voice, like Marlene Dietrich, and she was a German lady, and I was living with a German lady. And the ironic thing was, this lady's family was German Jewish, and they left Germany before the Kristallnacht. Kristallnacht in Germany was the night of broken glass. That's where Adolf's guys, I forget what they call the brown boys. They were dressed like UPS guys in brown shirts and brown shorts and, everything brown. And they went to all of the Jewish stores and knocked the windows in and stole all their stuff because they said that the Jews were responsible for the bad economy in Europe at the time. But in any case, this lady came to America with her parents, and she didn't want me to tell the German lady that I lived with that they were a Jewish family because she was afraid of losing her friendship. And I said, well, what kind of friendship is that if you're afraid of losing this lady's friendship if she knows the truth about your family? And it turned out I left the house because this lady, her girlfriend came from Germany, and they were in the kitchen one afternoon, and it turned out that the lady was a sympathizer, and her father had served on the Russian front, trying to invade a country they didn't belong in. And she was a sympathizer, and they were sitting there like no big deal talking about how many people had gotten smoked during WW2. And I told the lady I wasn't good with that. I told the other lady, I said, you need to pack your stuff up and get back to Germany. I was really, and that ruined our relationship between me and the lady I lived with. We had a huge piece of property, 6 acres of prime property in Mount Airy, Maryland, in beautiful countryside. And she wanted a pavilion, so I built her a pavilion. I dug the holes for the, I used to be super strong back then, nothing like the shell of a person I am now. And I used to be able to carry the great big wooden beams on my shoulder, dig the hole, set them in the hole, pour the concrete, level it out, get up on a ladder with the chainsaw and cut everything level with my chainsaw. I was something back then. And for some reason I was tired. And when I set the first beam for the roof of the pavilion, I got up on a ladder with this great big cross member, and I nailed it in with one nail on each end. And then as I got higher up on the ladder, it occurred to me that if either one of those little teeny nails gave way, I would come smacking back down on the ground with my ladder. Because it was a hot day and I was tired, and I had had a couple of beers, and I was hungry and all that other stuff, and I was trying to get the job done. But I built her this beautiful pavilion out in the backyard for picnics and stuff. And I built her a daycare center. And the daycare center got ruined by all of her animals, because rather than having children, she let all of her cats into the daycare center, and they pooped and peed all over everything. And so that was the end of the daycare center. But we had this picnic, and she got this German flag. I'll never forget it. It was like a yellow German flag with this really wicked looking black eagle on the flag. And she wanted that flag flown over her pavilion during the picnic. And we were listening to German music and eating bratwurst and blutwurst and white wurst and it was the worst, I can tell you. That was all we had to eat, was this sausage and beer. We were having our own little Oktoberfest. And so when I came out the next morning, one of our neighbors had literally torn the flag down off of the pavilion. It was nailed up to the top of the pavilion under the awning. And one of the neighbors wasn't good with having a German flag pointed in their direction flying in our backyard. So they tore the flag down. And then later on, they piled a whole bunch of horse crap next to my car, which I didn't see. until I went to go to work one morning and I slipped in it. And then I said, well, lo and behold, there's this great big pile of horse crap right next to my Fairmont. And we don't have any horses. We had geese. And geese are wonderful watchdogs. They they bray just like a donkey. They make almost the exact same noise that a donkey makes, like that. And I would come home in the morning, in the afternoon rather, and I would say, geese. And they would all come running up to say hi to me with their wings open. And then when they got too close, they would get afraid and run away. And when the German lady went to get in the geese pen and put water in the pen and food, they would bite her in the butt. And they have a nasty bite because their bill has got these little serrations like a knife. And they grab the grass and they pull it up and eat it. And then they leave little green and white poo-poos every place in your yard. So when they had the tornado up in my area, Inga and I were sitting at the traffic light, and it was just like that Maxwell House commercial. I looked up and there was a tornado behind the car, and we're sitting at the red traffic light in my Hyundai Accent. And I told her, I said, to heck with this traffic light. I'm not getting, sucked up by a tornado waiting for a traffic light. So I ran the traffic light and then came down 144 back to our house and pulled up in the driveway. And our house was a one-story ranch home. Beautiful 5,000 square foot ranch home at the top of a hill with the tornado coming. So I opened up all the glass sliding doors to equalize the air pressure to keep the house from blowing apart during the tornado. And we had this tree out in the front yard, and the wind whipped around the tree and took all of the leaves and branches and just left a stump in place of the tree. So when the storm was over, the geese came in the house. The whole flock of geese that I had came in through the sliding glass doors, and they walked into the living room and the kitchen and the bedrooms, and they looked around. And I told Inga just to leave them alone, because I said, if you scare them and they try and take off, they don't understand what glass is. They'll fly into the glass and hurt themselves, and then they'll panic, and we'll have little green and white poo-poos everywhere in the house to go along with all of the cat crap that we had, and the dog piddle on the kitchen floor that I always slipped in. But eventually she didn't spay or neuter the cats, and they kept increasing and increasing, and she wasn't telling the truth to herself, because they weren't purebred cats. They were all breeding with each other. And we were getting cats that were sick and cross-eyed and really bad off. And I couldn't deal with her, and I got sick with toxic plasmosis. And then I went to the hospital. The doctor said you can't go back to the house, or you won't recover. Hey, Trip, you're asking how I stream? Well, I've been a YouTube creator for a good 11 years, and you have to have a certain amount of people, you have to have a certain amount of views, and you have to have a certain viewership. I think it's up to 4,000 hours you have to have right at the moment. And on this channel, I have like 50,000 hours average viewership, although I'm not one of the most popular channels. Although I don't understand why, because like the one guy goes through his closet and he looks at his Walmart clothes and he goes, and he'll get like 27,000 views. And then he eats his food and shoves it all over his face and fights with his husband. And the husband will leave and then come back and leave and then come back. And he's got like 1 million subs and 27,000 hits on his channel. And it's beyond me, because there's never any content really as far as anything of significance. It's like the Dukes of Hazzard. You know what's going to happen every time you watch the channel, that the car is going to jump the creek and they're going to get chased and all that other stuff. It's like watching the same thing over and over again. My channel started out as more of a video diary, and then it kind of progressed and morphed into, trying to help people out, trying to keep younger people from making the same mistakes that I made, telling them about forgiveness and the love of God and all that other stuff. Because believe me, I had a very bad background of a family of idolatry, incest, a father who beat me when I was a kid, threw me down the basement stairs, stood over me, beat me like we were in a bar fight. A sister who held a knife at my belly when I was 11 years old, held a knife in my belly, was going to gut me like a fish. And then I went to work full time at 14 years old. That was over a half a century ago. I made $9 a day, not $9 an hour. I made $9 a day. And there were men that were raising families on that money. Gas was 26 cents a gallon for premium, 26 cents a gallon. And then I went to work for this garbage man for $20 a day, working from dark in the morning till dark at night, getting the crap beat out of me when he got angry, and halfway starving while I was picking up the garbage. The good Lord watched out over me. I actually worked for 2 garbage companies, got cleaned up at night, went to college, and then went back to work at 2:30 in the morning. One morning I was so tired, I picked up 1616 Connecticut Avenue in Washington. I was so tired, I put my head down on the steering wheel. When I woke up, it was 8:30 in the morning, and the garbage truck was surrounded by thousands of cars in the parking lot. They blocked me in. So I had to go in the building and beg people to move their cars one by one so I could back the garbage truck out and keep my job before the boss found out that I had fallen asleep in the truck and gotten hemmed in, because I wouldn't have been able to, leave the parking lot till 5 o'clock when everybody got off, because it was a government building. That was a miracle in and of itself. And there were times when I was so hungry, I would just tell God, I can't stand the hunger anymore. And we were at this one lady's house picking up the trash, and she had had a party the night before with one of those 6-foot subs, and she had half of it left. She came out and asked my helper and I if we'd like to have the rest of the sub. And man, she didn't have to ask twice. The lettuce was all wilted and the tomato was all wilted. But I'll tell you, it went down good. Mike and I both got a foot and a half of sub, and it was like 104 degrees out. We didn't have anything to drink, but we were so hungry that it didn't matter. And the sub had all sorts of gloppy salad dressing on it anyway, so we didn't really notice. We just ate it and we're grateful that we had something to eat. But that's pretty much been my whole life, is the struggle to survive. Speaking of survive, fam, my medicine time is coming up, and old Poppity Pop got to check his blood pressure and take my pills and stuff in order to buy myself a few more hours of life. So I love y'all. I care about y'all. I thank those of you that go to my Amazon link and help me out with diapers and piddle pads and Preparation H and all that other god-awful stuff that you need when you get older. Ear drops and eye drops and nose drops and all the good stuff. So I'm going to go. I love you. God loves you more.